So loud in here on the. We call the meeting to order at 6 p.m. on January 26, 2026. And let the record reflect that all elected board members and our student reps are here with the exception of Mary Ann Naslin, who is ill. And pledge of allegiance, please.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
There were no changes or additions to the agenda.
There is one contract that got added today, student-specific services through special ed.
Okay. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda?
A motion to approve the agenda.
Second?
I second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
No one's opposed. All right, good news and celebrations.
Okay, we are excited as our campuses are getting back to the new year to bring students back next month. But this month we bring you two staff members we'd like to celebrate. We'll start with the school resource officer, Officer Kevin Lynch, who was recently recognized in the National School Resource Officer Practitioner Program for excellence in 2025. And does a great job in the short time we've worked together, always has kids' best interests at heart, cares about the community, and we're just really blessed and honored to have him in our district. And so we have a certificate here for you, Ms. President, to present to Mr. Lynch and then take some pictures in the backdrop there so we can celebrate our wonderful SRO.
If my name was pictures, I would have had you do this.
Oh. We're increasing our social media presence.
There you go. Okay, ready, 1, 2, 3. Get your class in there, okay, 1, 2, 3. Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Officer Lynch, for all that you do. It's great to see you recognized.
It's enjoyable.
And next up, we have the school district's executive director of finance, Mr. Mitch Thompson, was nominated and selected to serve on the school district's advisory committee for school business officers for the next 3 years. So
Nice,
it's a
congratulations.
good recognition for.
And you said yes, more work.
Of course. I got nothing else to do.
Look at that, you can put that in your office.
Oh, great, thank you.
Thank you, congratulations.
Thank you, Mitch. Also, at each board member's seat, you'll see a certificate in recognition of January being Board Appreciation Month. And on behalf of the staff, students, and community of Sultan, I want to extend a heartfelt thank you to you for donating your time and energy on behalf of the students of this community to serve on the school board. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
There's no cash underneath there.
Wait,
That'd be nice.
will you guys look at me? Okay.
And in a new just section of this student and staff recognition, we're gonna try to bring you one big thing that happens each month just to make sure that that's known to the community. And we have started our first $25,000 grant for weight room equipment in the high school weight room. So last year you got a presentation about uniform rotation, which will be built into the next year's budget. So that'll start in 26-27. But we've also been partnering with Eddie on grant seeking, and we were able to secure the first $25,000 towards weight room equipment. So we're working with Chris Hill and Ben Murphy on selecting the equipment and getting it put in the weight room for our students. So
Awesome,
it's
thank
pretty-
you.
It's great.
Yay. All right. We had no questions last meeting. We have no public comment again today. So we're going down to student representative reports.
Yeah, I went to the conference with Gigi and Isaac and Dr. Granger, and I was really happy to do that. I got to connect with a lot of other student board representatives. I learned a lot, so I'm excited to create a report on that. And then we just started a new semester at the high school. We're about to tomorrow, so again, really excited for that.
Spring sports start in March, on March 2nd, and winter formal's happening the first week of February. We're gonna have class meetings about it at the end of this week. We had the student
Advisory
committee meeting.
Yes.
It was me, another student, and then Dr. Granger and Kayla, and it was really good. Me and Dr. Granger talked about ideas for like a questions box that we could have to like make it known that students can come to me and Dr. Granger about concerns they have and stuff like that.
Awesome,
Great.
thank you. And we did at the study session, we talked a little bit about what we, from the legislative conference. And we might have mentioned how awesome that you did.
You did awesome.
Because you did do
Very good.
well. Yes,
You represented us very well.
yes. All right, campus reports are attached.
Yes, ma'am, and next month you will hear from Ms. Sarita Whitmire-Skeeth from the high school. As we
Great.
go through our campuses, this evening, you have the pleasure of hearing from cabinet level executive directors Mike Marion and Assistant Superintendent Paul Douglas, so.
Perfect, we're ready for whoever's going first.
Flying pins. Move this back over here. Well, good evening, directors. Thank you very much for the opportunity to come this evening and kind of tell you what's happening in teaching and learning. It's always, what's that? Oh. Is that good? Yeah. Okay. Well, I knew it had to come this way, so. You want me to start again, or?
No, you're good.
Okay. This is my 8th year doing this, so it's, you start to kind of get into a cycle, but every year presents new things. I will say that one of the honors that I have is serving with other members who believe that Sultan is the right place to be, and we work hard to do that. So that's my opinion, and then I'll go into what the goals and objectives. So next slide, please, Keela. Thank you. So the goals and objectives for this year have really focused on kind of just the daily things. I know that we've spent a great deal of time with the elementary ELA review and adoption process. We have completed those the reviews of all the different curriculums. We started out with about 12. And the very first evening, I was able to kind of get everyone to agree that we probably should not consider about 8 of them. And that's because they were just lower ranked for different reasons. And so we used the Ed Reports mechanism to do that. So it's a great opportunity. When everyone's there, it's 16 people. And so it's a big group. Lots of very concerned elementary teachers who want to have a great curriculum to use for our ELA reading program. And we've also been looking at the intervention pieces that go with that and any type of testing that goes with that. So there's multiple pieces, then we kind of working on all of those. So, and I appreciate the board membership, Gigi, you attending, I thank you very much. Next on my radar is the next slide is what I'm talking about, so it's just easier to go down this one. So the NAEP, which is the National Assessment of Educational Progress, happens, we tend to get chose every time they do it, and I believe it's about every other year, but we work with a department down at OSPI, and this is what they call the Nations Test. So whereas Smarter Balance is a state test that's based on the Common Core standards, this is really the national test, and this is the one that would be featured in the things that go back to Washington DC, but it's also comparative across the entire United States. So, and that is happening on February 5th, and so the 4th graders, we have 108. So the school is selected, that's Sultan Elementary, and then we were chosen to do half of our 4th graders, so we have 54 4th graders that will be taking this test. It's about a 2-hour test, and it's they bring their own devices. We've worked with technology to try to make all of those things possible, and relatively, it's a one-day interruption. Ms. Lohmans at Sultan Elementary is leading that charge right now. So she's very versed and has worked in the assessment coordinator role, both at SMS and now at SES. So she's taken that over and doing a really nice job. So then we do get kind of aggregate responses, but it's just compared to the other schools that have these same types of tests. As always, we were trying to continue to improve our multilingual learners program. We hired a second person for last year, and she was out on maternity leave for the first part of the year. It's very discouraging when you want to hire someone to come in and do this, but that posting went up in late June, and I did not get anyone to come and do that because we're just not. I'm not sure if we're not advertising it in the right place or if we've done all of our normal routes, but Hush Iwala came back on January 5th, and so it's nice to have her back. She is spending most of her time at SES because we have a third of the 303 students, a third of the team, the student load is at SES. So at the elementary school, and so there's a lot of kids that need that. We have actually added another almost full-time para there also. So there was 2 paras and a teacher, and each of the teachers have 2 schools that they go to, an elementary and a secondary. So that's that part of it. School improvement process and completion. All of our current schools that are in school improvement status, which are SES for special education, actually they went in for EL Progress, and they've taken care of that and done a really nice job, but now they have their special ed populations that are they're just working on building those pieces up. And so they are working, doing a nice job of, I think we got Mr. Goodyear's report on what they've done in the first part of the year. So we'll be getting everything done for this week's. And then the Open Doors program, the Graduation Alliance program that Mr. Van Zant kind of oversees and with me, and he's the other one that's identified right now. But we are starting the process with every school, so we'll add Sultan Middle School and Sultan High School, so everyone will be on the same standard forms. And so we're using the state forms because they're the ones that are required for those schools that are in school improvement. So it's just easier to have everyone on the same forms. So much of the work that's been done, say for example at the high school where they've done accreditation and we've used that as kind of their school improvement plan, they just have to kind of repackage it into this new form. And so we'll help them through that, and you'll see a clear cycle for that coming up for the next several months. So you have school improvement plans, I believe, by June. So you'll actually have them so they can work on them for the following year. And finally, highly capable screening and program placement. Highly capable is always something that we're looking at. We are funded from the state at 5% of our student population, and that's kind of consistent for us because as we know, we go up a little bit in enrollment and back down a little bit, and so it's kind of consistent, and so that's helpful for us to know that. But we do 2 screeners, one in first grade, one in third grade. First grade's done, we do that in November. That's something, it's a nonverbal test, and so those students then take the full battery at this point. We do the COGAT still. And then we're doing third grade. SES is done. I looked at scores, and we did cut scores and everything today. We'll do GoBERT this coming week, and so we'll be able to move into final testing for our highly capable program. So, and I believe that is pretty much everything that I have. So, any questions?
No.
Oh, needs assessment, last page. Okay. Just needs assessment. So some things that we're watching for. I actually here we go, watching now. I knew I had it. So one back, sorry, that was my fault. I printed them back and forth. I was trying to not take too many papers. So legislature, so one of the things that we've had a huge success with is the transitional kindergarten program. As you know, that we have 3 classes of 18. We have a wait list. The wait list has not moved much at all this year. Typically, they'll move at least some. But one of the things that we heard early before even legislative sessions began was that they were going to be looking to cut the transitional kindergarten program by a percentage, and we don't really know what that looks like. We're watching a legislative movement and activity. That's what we need to do. I also think that probably one thing that we all need to be aware of is federal cuts. We saw that with budgetary concerns in Washington, that, you know, and a continuation of funding, they've gone through and they've done some cuts, and then they've added them back. And so it's, you know, we just watch that very carefully, because those are still, we still need those to run. And then also compliance for grants and such. So now, needs assessment, we're moving, all of our campuses, as I referred to, are going into the school improvement process, and so we will start that cycle with them again. So you'll be updated as those get done this year. So.
Great, thank you.
Thank you, Mike.
Welcome.
Thanks,
Thank-
Mike.
Dr. Douglas,
Good evening, directors.
evening.
Always a pleasure. And I do appreciate all of you for all the money you make while sitting on the board. Do appreciate everything that you guys do. So Kayla. All right, so I'm not gonna go into all these different pieces, but I just wanted to give you some numbers for special education where we were sitting. So 2023 to 24, you can see that we had about 338 students. I was just reflecting today that when I started, was in 2020, we had 310. I just didn't pull those numbers back to that. And you can look now that we have 395 special needs students. So quite a bit of growth in the last 6 years. So, which, as you've all heard me say before, with those numbers have come intensity on the type of needs that these students have. So, which is why we have 11 students currently in non-public agencies versus being in our school, because we can't provide the services or the supports that they need in the public school setting. So, the other thing that I wanted to point out is McKinney-Vento also falls under student services. And last year at this time we had 23, this year we're up at 27. So again, it reflects what we're seeing in society as well.
Could you explain what that is, just if somebody doesn't know?
Sure. McKinney-Vento has to do with the homeless. It's a homeless bill that's out there and supports students that are in homeless situations. It allows students that identify as homeless to have free and reduced lunch. It allows them certain other benefits, like being able to access the athletics without having to pay the fee for athletics. Oftentimes clothing can be part of that process as well, tutoring, counseling. We don't necessarily provide the counseling, but we do connect them up to services providing counseling.
Thank you.
All right, so last year, one of our findings in disproportionality was to decrease, well, what we had in finding was that we had too many white male EBD students. So this has happened now year 3. And I try not to get cynical on this, but it kind of reflects the population that we have. And so for 3 years, they've identified white EBD students with no idea on how to remediate that situation in our district. So despite the conversation around demographics and PBIS and some other interventions that we've tried, we're unable to get out of that category. So we've tried a number of different things. I've asked psychologists to take a harder look at the EBD qualification and taking a look at like other health impairments. So if a student has ADHD, autism, things like that, is there another category versus just categorizing them as EBD? So that's just another way to take a greater look in whether we have the right eligibility area for the student or not. So we're still working on that one, trying to decrease those numbers. Another one area of disproportionality had to do a lot with the, kind of drawing a blank right now, on some of the programs that we had. And so addressing that as we're looking at those numbers and how to assess them and make sure that we're coming out equally balanced. So just addressing some of those. On the special ed side in particularly, it was around transition. So we have students that transition from high school into the 18 to 22-year-old program, and that's for students with disabilities that don't necessarily graduate with a high school diploma, but with a certificate of completion. So they go on to an 18 and 22-year-old program, so they work on skills such as independent living, community activities, communication, figuring out how to ride the school bus, or not school bus, but metro bus, skill I still haven't learned, but you know, it is a lot of mapping and things like that. So they go onto those programs. They found that our goals were not as specific as they needed to be, so they weren't measurable enough. So I've worked with staff this year to address those situations. We actually used a template from OSPI and I trained staff in using that. And they've gone back and corrected all the IEPs that have been done this year in the transition plans, and we'll be using that template moving forward. So we believe we've made that correction. So that kind of addresses that. And I listed out a couple other things, but we'll kind of skip through that. We also brought in OSPI last year to take a look at our IEPs and how we're doing some of our IEPs. One of the biggest issues around IEPs is when we make a change on an IEP, it can be documented two different ways. One can be in what we call prior written notice, which means we've had a meeting with a parent, guardian, and we've decided as a group, this is what we're going to do, and we document it through that meeting itself. Or another way of doing it is actually having an amendment done. So you talk to the parent, they agree that there needs to be change. Say the amendment is the number of minutes that the student receives in a area of services, like their speech services increases. We can do an amendment showing that change, and then we add a prior written notice to document the meeting itself. So one of the things we focused on during our training was when to use an amendment and when to use a prior written notice and when to use both. So we brought in one of the lawyers from OSPI, Alyssa Fairbanks, and conducted that at the beginning of the year. I think that I already went over the transitions plan. The bills that are coming up right now, bills and taxes, you guys are probably seeing come across. I just heard of a recent tax where they talked about adding, if they tax us on, I'm not even sure what it was now, but it's, again, a tax that they claim is to go towards safety net. It's on the basis of another plan to utilize, say, the marijuana funds that's supposed to go into schools. This is one of those where they're saying the funds are supposed to go into safety net. I imagine that's because the state of Washington has now figured out that they did not adequately plan for supporting safety net when they lifted the cap in special education. So I don't want to be cynical, but that's just the way it works right now. So the 1241 is the greater access to FAPE. This is one where parents have greater access to how their students are doing. It kind of falls within the Parents' Bill of Rights that we saw last year. Getting past this is giving greater access. One of the biggest concerns about this bill is how it reflects on parents getting access to records and the time that it takes to access the records. The other one that we're seeing is a permitting 1041, which is permitting the recording of individual education program team meetings. So in other words, if you have an IEP meeting, parents can come in and record the meeting. It doesn't make our special education staff very happy. It's very nerve-wracking. It causes concerns, an already tense situation on many occasions. So hopefully that won't pass. And for the most part, most of our meetings are not adversarial. So, and that kind of concludes that. Do you guys have any questions at all?
Anyone, questions? No?
Good.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Just before I leave, I do want to give you a budget savings piece. I don't know, Mitch is going to be excited to hear, not. But currently, we have 29 contractors that we employ to service our students in special education. So my goal this year is to eliminate the 29, that they're all our employees, all people living in our community. So those that are listening tonight, I hope we encourage you to apply for positions, and then we'll provide the training as well, so we can have our own folks here instead of contracting it out.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, monthly financial report from our award winner. Award winner.
All right. I gotta get this thing down to 4 slides.
You're way away. Growth.
It's in the, yeah. All right, here we go. So looking at monthly enrollment FTE, month over month, it's up just a little bit, but we're still way below the line, right? So we budgeted at 2,065 FTE, and we're riding at 1,990. So that's 85 roughly. Is that right? Don't do math in your head. 75? Somebody help me out here.
No, we'll leave you hanging.
I left my calculator over there.
What was it?
All right.
Number budget for?
It's a bunch.
75.
75. So when you look at ALE, it's up a little bit from what it's been, but again, that number is way below where we budgeted at 66. So that one is a little easier math, that's 19 and change. All right. Our SPED numbers, remember, this is an annual average at this point in time, so we're at 380. Budgeted for 388. So January's the month that when apportionment comes out, it's gonna self-correct all of these overages that we've budgeted for. So we're gonna take a financial hit at the end of this month. So here's our fund balance comparison. You could see the ride that we're on, right? We started the year, September's ending fund balance 2.4 million, up to 3.7, so that's a levy month. And then all the way down in December to 1.9. So I expect that to dip again in January because of the adjustment and apportionment. Cash with the county, we're actually at 1.4 million. So we're at a stage that is relatively dangerous. So, but you can see in December, we're actually at the same spot we were 4 years ago, just about. Capital projects right at 2.3 million. So again, we'll get some levy money in spring for the projects coming up. And then TVF, we took a dive, and that's because we paid for the bus. So we had the bus show up, paid for it. So we'll ride at 204, right in that area for the rest of the year until we get depreciation in August, and it'll jump back up. Debt service fund, you could see as we rode through, November went up because we transferred the money for the non-voted debt. And then we paid the non-voted debt in December, so back down. And ASB, again, the kids are doing great. Keep it up. So looking at the year over year comparison, I put November in here because you didn't see these reports last month. So expenditures in November, $10.9 million. So it's 23.66% of budget. Remember, budget is based on if the money comes in. And so look at last year, we were at 23.5, but we were at 9.8 million, so we're a whole $1 million more. And then I pressed the button, there we go. Sorry, revenues in December, $10.4 million this year. You'll see the net in a slide or two. So now to December, $14.6 million in expenditures. Last year, 13.3, so we're a full 1.3 more at this point in time. And the year before that, 12.3. So we went 1 million, 1.3 million. And then revenues coming in, we're at 13.9. So currently, at the end of December, we're $717,000 more in expenditures than revenues brought in. In November, we were 400,000, so it's a $300,000 swing. Questions?
Michael?
No. I mean, I wanna add something to fix it, but no, I got none.
Mike?
No, I'll come see you. I mean, the percentages are the same, they're just based off of the higher budget. So until we know exactly what's coming out, then I'm sure that'll all adjust.
Isaac?
Were those, were these slides on the agenda?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can't find them. Okay, no, thank you.
Maybe. I have no questions. I bet I will say that I like all the slides.
There are some at the end that for enrollment, so
I'd
some.
rather not go down to 4. I like all the information, so just FYI.
Sweet.
Thank you.
You can go to 21.
Yeah, just start talking faster, Bill, one of those people reading disclaimer.
Because I didn't see those before. There it is. I was just off. Sorry.
That's okay. Me. Legislative stuff. I emailed you guys earlier today on how to sign in pro or con for things. Just a reminder, if the legislative rep will sign in as like the representative of the board, but if you sign in as your personal self, pro or con, that would be great. There were a couple of things that came over today, actually. One is SB 6239, and that would require arbitration for tort claims against the state of Washington and its political subdivisions, which would be school districts, before being scheduled for trial. They're asking if the districts have any concerns with WASDA supporting that. It's basically arbitration before trial, which is a good thing. And so they're wondering, because that would, WASDA shall initiate and or support legislation that would reimburse school districts for cost of civil actions related to state of emergency, blah, 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 blah. So that's kind of WASDA's position, that the legislature should reimburse for certain things and limit the civil liability to protect the district. So if anybody has any comments on that, or, I know it's just a 1,000-mile overview of it, but
As long as they're not charging us.
Yeah, and not charging now,
Exactly.
you know, how long will that last?
I'll email that out.
Support doesn't necessarily always come for free.
No. I'll email it out to you guys then if you have any comments on it. The other one was HB 2170. We were asked about this one because it's, we're a district that receives forest trust land revenue. HB 2170 aims to expand revenue generation, and economic opportunities on trust lands by allowing ecosystem leases for up to 125 years. There's a public hearing on Wednesday morning. WASDA, Russ Pfeiffer Hoyt is chair of WASDA's Trust Land Advisory Committee. He's gonna log in and testify con on WASDA's behalf because the revenue generated from the ecosystem leases would be less than, it's a small fraction of the revenue earned from the timber harvest. So we would actually get less money. So
They're gonna
that's
be
just,
spreading it out. I mean, that's the other thing, making sure that if the logging occurs within our district, we have been receiving,
yes.
we're not sharing those funds, and I'd like to continue being stingy and not sharing those
Yes.
funds with anybody else.
I will forward this to you guys because this would be a good one to sign in and as con, so that we are on the record for that. We had talked about like unfunded mandates. So this is not like a verified list, it's from somebody in our area, District 1. Just for you to peruse. There's a couple copies for. Just it has like fully unfunded, things that are funded but not enough. So it's just something to take a look at, and then the schedule for the third week of the legislative session is on the back, but like I said, these are not, we didn't go through these and verify, but it's a lot. And then there's I can't remember how many so far, it was 70 or
77 since 2017.
yeah, and then like I think 21 new ones so far this year that they're throwing out there for unfunded. I knew you'd like this list, Isaac, because I was like, I think, was there anything else, Chris, that I wanted to talk about? I think that was it, right?
So.
That's it, but yeah, I'll email you guys the number, especially the HB 2170, the trust lands, if you can jump on it. It takes just a couple minutes. I sent the directions and just do con on that, cause that would give us a lot less money than we have, so. Superintendent's report is next.
Okay, we will start with some random stuff and then I'm gonna review the levy presentation we did in September with some updated numbers as we get closer to the levy election. Maybe that'll help inform more of our voters. So the CFAC group has been getting together and will reconvene next on February 12th. So that'll be after we know the results of the levy election and then they can help us inform next steps. We're hoping for passing a levy and then we can start talking bond for our students and community. So we're gonna meet after the levy election so we can determine what's the next steps. And thank you to both Marion and Michael for coming to the last couple meetings and helping us navigate with that community group some priorities. Parent partnership is in full now motion for the fall of 26. So we have identified Ms. Heather Anderson to be the administrator that leads that program. Looking forward to that. She has got some emails going out this week. I think she's up to 47 students that are potentially interested. So we have an invite only email going out to the people that have responded to the invite to run through the PowerPoint and just kind of see what questions they have that we haven't answered. And then we're gonna have a general open community forum on, I believe it's gonna be March 12th.
Do you know about like how many of those students are currently in our district, or are they like gone and done something else and we might be able to bring them back?
Those are a mix. We have 22, I think, that responded to that came out of the SVEC group that we emailed directly. So it's probably a mix of both. I know we've heard already from a couple kindergarten families who are maybe leaning more toward a start in a homeschool or a partnership type program. So I think it's gonna be a mix of both, so.
Next.
Wanted you to know that that's in full effect. We did do some updating on our social media over the weekend. We updated our commenting protocols there so that if there is damaging content posted towards individuals, that we have the ability to archive that and retain it but remove it so that students or staff aren't named by something specific and then it's not used as a forum to attack. That's not the intention behind us using that as a communication protocol. So just our social media person went and dropped some stuff on the top of our social media that says these are the things. And then it's gonna have a word list that will trigger comments that have certain words in them, and then we review them before they get posted as a protection for our students and staff. Athletics update, we have submitted we did our appeal to the Kinko, that was denied. So we submitted, Chris Hill on the behalf of the district submitted our membership application to the Northwest Conference, which will be familiar to people that have been here a while. That would be Lakewood, Cedar-Woolley, Bellingham, kind of Mount Baker, Blaine, Meridian, that we've been in before. They're definitely excited to have our application come in, and they have a meeting this week to vote, tonight or tomorrow, I think it is. And then on Wednesday at 4:30, we're having a coaches meeting. And we have some of those athletic directors coming up to be present for that meeting, to reaffirm their commitment to really treating us like a full member of their conference and giving good opportunities for our students. And then we're hosting a community meeting at 5, where those athletic directors are also gonna stay, that's open for anybody that kind of wants to come ask questions. So I
That
know
was when?
Wednesday,
Wednesday?
Yeah.
Where is it at?
high school library. So we'll start taking the next steps for that. Certainly disappointed that I think our students and Chris Hill and Sarita did a great job of presenting, and disappointed that Kinko didn't feel like it was worthy, or that the appeal committee didn't either, but really encouraged to have a place where they're excited to have us and will welcome us. And I think that's good for our students. You partner that with an investment in our weight room and start to talk about what it takes to be successful long term. I think we're taking some steps in the right direction. So appreciate everyone's effort in that. And now I'll get to the longer part of the performance about the legislative session. Just a few things that I think thank you, Gigi, for the ones that you shared. I'm not gonna duplicate any of those, but wanted to put a couple. The big topic we're hearing is that they are worried about districts becoming financially challenged, and what the bills that they're putting in that they feel like might address that. I'm not sure they actually address it in the way that we would like. So Mitch and I were able to review these earlier before this evening, so thank you to him for doing that. We are watching House Bill 2551, which says if you have a ending fund balance 3% or less, that you can, with the authorization of OSPI, start selling property that you own to further solidify your financial position.
Sorry, which number was that?
2551. Since you're only supposed to own land to develop it, that's an interesting approach. I think that probably comes from people starting to close schools or see less of a footprint, would be my guess. Then you have House Bill 2593, which is about how we report our funding and how much OSPI wants to be involved in what we do. This would be forcing districts to manage the state's failure to fully fund education by putting further restrictions on the reserve dollars that we have. I think it could be dangerous. There's another one that has gotten a lot of attention around fund balance minimums and maximums that range from 8.5% to 17%, and really feel like this is the district losing its local control to decide how to utilize its own money. I mean, if OSPI is in the state are going to say this is the least you can have in the bank and the most you can have in the bank, that's going to likely lead to unintended reductions in other areas, because to get to that number, you're going to have to make even more challenging decisions in a system that's already not fully funded. So certainly we're not advocating for loss of the little bit of local control that we have to be responsive to our community. And so it also has a training requirement for school board members on the docket to get trained on budgeting and accounting. So
But that, I think, is that SB 5860?
no, 6247.
Because 5860 increases school board compensation and training.
Yes, that's the one that increases to $100 per day that you do work. It doesn't restrict it to meetings.
You could retire.
So if you're on campus, you can technically claim. So just increasingly concerned about what is being attempted to claw back from what we have potentially at the local level to address the elephant in the room, which is that schools are not fully funded in this state as required by the state constitution. And want to make sure that our community and board know that we're advocating for our students and community, that they need to fully fund education the way that it was intended to be. And we don't want to have further consequences locally for things that we didn't ask for, which speaks to the unfunded mandates and all the things. You know, our students and staff are working really hard, and to continue to do more with less year over year is challenging. As the people who have to stand in front of the community and advocate, you know, I think it's time we want to maintain as much control as we can over how our dollars are spent on our students and staff, because we are the ones that best understand our local situation. You start having kind of across the board percentages, looks a lot different if your budget's 40 million or 80 million or 4 million. And so trying to preserve that for all districts, not just ours. And we're fast approaching, you know, the end of the session. The first policy cutoff is on the 4th of February, which is next week. They've got to get out of their initial hearing to get out. So the bills will start to funnel down to fewer bills. But March 12th is the end of the session. That's coming faster than we always realize. You know, the days go fast. I have been able to talk to Ms. Eslick a couple times on a couple of bills that she's either co-authored or is on to kind of give our local perspective on how that may impact us. And so appreciate that she's been responsive and answering her phone and been a good partner in reaffirming that what she's asking for isn't more things for schools to do that aren't funded, but trying to find ways to support the work that we do. So that's encouraging. And if you have questions about that before we transition to the levy, just presentation one more time before the election, but any questions on kind of the general stuff there?
And just
Appreciate.
FYI, I asked Chris to do the levy presentation, sorry, but I thought it'd be good so people that watch this can see it.
And happy to do so. So some of this you're going to recognize from our September workshop in Gold Bar, and there's some stuff at the end that we have added. And I'm gonna try to throw in some additional context for people that I know that there's a lot of questions that may come up, and encourage people to email me if they have questions, and we'll get them connected to the right person. We are not staffed to respond to every comment on social media, so we can't keep up with the flurry of things. So go ahead, Caleb.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Thanks.
You go
and
off the-
congratulations.
Thank you.
So just a quick reminder, as you all know, but for those listening or those who haven't heard this before, there's two different types of measures in the state of Washington. One is levies, which are short-term, 1 to 6 year voter-approved debts that are supporting learning. So levies start with an L, they support learning. Bonds, on the other hand, are for building. Bonds start with a B, building starts with a B, and they are more closely related to a home mortgage. They're for building buildings. They require a 60% supermajority to pass, and they are 10 to 25 years in length. So that's how they reflect a mortgage type payment. So levies for learning, bonds are for building, and school districts across the state need both. And so even if you're listening and you don't reside in Sultan, I would say support your local school district levy. It's essential until the state fully funds public education. For us specifically in Sultan, what we are requesting the taxpayers approve is not a new tax. It is a replacement of the existing levy that's on the books right now that will stop collecting in the calendar year of 2026. So just to confuse things a little bit more, you've got levy collections that happen on a calendar year. You have a school district's fiscal year that runs September to August, and you have a state fiscal year that's July to June. So to make it even more confusing for people, a very complex system. The most important thing about this is for people to know that 10.6% of what we have budgeted, or about $4.5 million, is totally reliant on the levy. So we often hear a lot of like, well, what are we gonna lose if it doesn't pass? It is really hard to start naming all the specifics because of such the trickle down effect that can happen. But no different than a home budget. If you lost 10% of your anticipated revenue, hard decisions would be ahead. And we don't want that for our students and staff. And go ahead. So this talks a little bit about what, this is by no means an all-inclusive list, but what it does pay for is teachers and substitutes, not certificated and classified staff. So as many people may be aware, the prototypical model that says how many teachers and custodians, counselors, principals we're supposed to have for the number of students that we enroll is inadequate. So everything above what that model generates is supported out of the local levy. So expanded curriculum and compensation, but beyond what the state covers. So pre-McCleary, you had a state salary schedule. Now they fund on an average teacher cost. So it does not account for districts like Sultan who are benefiting from a very experienced staff that have stayed around a while. They cost more. That model is contingent on you. They think you have a bell curve of staff, you know, young teachers, experienced teachers, and some people in the middle, and somehow that average salary is going to come out to be even. And when you don't even fund all the teachers that we have, the simple math, that doesn't work. Also, funds any extracurriculars or after-school activities. Nothing in extracurriculars is funded through the state budget. Clubs, sports, ASB, none of that comes. And then utilities, it is used for things like electricity and water, software updates. That's why when people say like, what are we gonna lose? Sometimes it's challenging to name everything because obviously we can't not pay our utility bills. Those expenses would have to move over to the general ledger side of the budget, which means other things would have to come off. So, go ahead, Kayla. Again, how does levy collection work? The district asks for a set dollar amount and then collects that dollar amount based on the value of the properties in the district. So, go ahead, Kayla. If we had 4 houses in the district and the district's levy voted amount was $1,000 and all the properties were valued the same, everybody would pay $250. Think the next slide. Oftentimes what people think is we get another house, we get another $250. And the reality is the voter approved levy amount is the maximum we can collect. So if the levy was $1,000 and a 5th house was built on the street, really each house's tax liability for the levy would go down. So that would then divide the $1,000 instead of by 4, would divide it by 5, and each homeowner would then be paying $200. We don't control the value of everybody's property. We understand frustration with not making improvements to your property and somebody else saying it's worth a significant dollar amount more. But we do have a cap on what we can collect that's not dictated by the number of houses built. So this slide has been updated since you saw it in September because we did get some more information that can be really clear. The first part is the same. Since 2019, the state capped how much you can collect by either a cap of $250 per thousand or $3,351.24 per pupil, typical fashion, whichever is the lower. In 2025, the district, now that the year is over, can say that it was $1.51 per thousand collected on the EP&O side and 96 cents per thousand collected on the capital project side. And in 2026, the current year, they initially projected through the Department of Revenue, right? Department of Revenue, that it would be $1.64. Once the values came out, it actually came in at $1.54 on the EP&O side. And then a capital projects collection of 99 cents. So for the 2026 calendar year, we're expecting a collection of $2.53. That's the new number that wasn't there in September because we didn't have the final thing. And then as we project forward in 2027, if you remember when we talked about putting the ballot measure on, we had said that we would ask for no more than that. So actually $1.60 on the EP&O side and 90 cents on capital projects for a total of $2.50 projected collection. So when we say not a new tax, we often get, is it that you're asking for the same dollar amount or the same per thousand? It's a little bit less per thousand, because there's more properties in the district, more value in the properties, so the individual person's liability would be less. Go ahead, Kayla. And the next two slides recap over the last 4 years, the levy that's expiring next December, what has been asked for and what's been collected in both the EP&O levy side and the capital project side. And then this is the EP&O projection for the next 4 years. So it does escalate based on the property values that Department of Revenue expect in our community. So that's what those slides will reflect. Similarly, this is the capital projects collection, and then next is what we are asking the voters to approve on February 10th. Again, we recommend anybody that has questions can email me or call the office. We want people to be educated and informed. They should be getting their levy flyer in their mailboxes the end of last week, beginning of this week, as ballots start to show up. And go ahead, Kayla. We have started to put some things out on social media that are reflective of what it pays for, so similar to the slide that you saw. This is a visual representation of that. Again, people ask, what is at stake? Anything that is funded by the levy is at stake should the district not pass its levy in February, or worst case scenario, see a double levy failure similar to what Marysville had, where we put it back up and then it doesn't pass a second time. Again, really important for our people, I think, in our community, as evidenced by seeing where our students are. They participate in a lot of extracurricular activities. Those are all 100% funded by the levy. And really leaning on our community, that's important to our students, but also I know important to parents. You see some pictures on there on the right, like Husky Hoops at Gold Bar, which is our high school students, basketball players going down and doing some after-school work with young students at Gold Bar. Those are great things that are happening in our local community that rely on levy funding. And then again, wanting to reflect for people really clearly that the levy is for learning, because we want to be passing this levy in February and be able to talk to our voters about a bond for future building. And bonds are for building. So we need votes now, and then whenever the bond measure is on, we want that as well. Again, this is a Q&A that was trying to be responsive to what we hear. If property values increase, will we get more funding? No, again, we're capped at that total dollar amount. It's just further divided by the values in the community. And some great pictures of the things that our students do that are funded out of levies: athletics and band, fine arts, CTE classes, great opportunities for our kids that would be at risk if we don't have local support to pass the levy. So this last slide is also an ad. This is not levy specific, but wanting to show that for Sultan specifically, over the last 4 years, in 3 big areas that you often hear us talk about: special education, MSOCs, or transportation, the district has seen a gap in funding in the $5 million range from the state. And so when we talk about needing that gap filling levy, this is because core functions of operations are not supported by the state's lack of fully funding education, as is prescribed again by the Constitution. So, go ahead. So I just wanted to wrap up there and to remind people to vote. If you haven't already, vote before February 10th. If you have questions, please reach out so that we can give factual information, and appreciate the community's past support for our students and staff through levies and what it allows us to offer, and hope that we will see that support showing up again.
Great, thank you.
Thanks, Chris. Thank you.
Anyone have any questions?
No.
Great.
All right, consent agenda. Does anyone have any comments, questions on the consent agenda? Can I get a motion to approve consent agenda?
I'll motion to approve the consent agenda.
Can I get a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. And now, policy 5010, discrimination-free workplace, first read.
This is sorry.
No, go ahead.
Okay. This is a WASDA policy update. came out of the most recent updates they recommend, and it has to do with an update in the WAC that's reflected in the markup. Just asking the board, and a change in the title of the policy that used to be non-discrimination and affirmative action, which is not what it's referred to anymore, it's just discrimination-free. So asking the board to approve.
Did anyone have questions on this one? Michael,
No
Mike?
questions.
Isaac?
No.
Olivia? No. Alright. Let's do student advisory vote. Say yes. She's like, I think so.
Caught her off guard.
Alright, can I get, oops, do I have a motion for policy 5010 discrimination-free workplace first read?
Motion to approve policy 5010. Sorry, Michael.
Just faster, man.
And a second?
I'll second it, why not?
Alright, all in
Second
favor?
place apparent.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Alright. Policy 5011 sexual harassment of district staff prohibited, first reading.
Yes, again, this is a policy cleanup for some things that used to be housed under one policy. They started to separate out district employees and students and how staff and students are different. So this is codifying those adjustments that were made at the state level in the staff series of policies, which is the 5,000 series, so.
Questions on this one, Michael? Mike?
No.
Isaac? Ladies? Student advisory vote, would you say yes? Thank you. Can I get a motion to approve policy 5011 sexual harassment of district staff prohibited, first read?
Motion to approve policy 5011.
Can I get a second?
I'll second.
We just need to go in a rotation.
That one is Isaac, cause Michael got the last one. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
That's it, I
Opposed?
give up.
Alright, policy 6114, gifts or donations, first read.
This is a policy that's needed to be updated and also to update the dollar amount at the recommendation of the district's business office. So when we went and recognized that the dollar amount hadn't been updated, it also caught a series of other updates that have been made through WASDA since the district has looked at this policy. So just asking for the board to approve this. It would allow us to accept donations less than $1,000 through the district's procedure, and then the other ones come to the board.
We'll start on this side. Bella, Olivia, any questions? And what would your student vote be? Isaac, questions?
No.
Mike?
No.
Michael? Alright, can I get a motion to approve policy 6114, gifts or donations, first read?
A motion to approve
114,
6114.
gifts or
Phone.
donations. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I gave you that big pause,
You did, man, it's huge, the big pause.
Wait time, wait time.
I think Mike had that one, sorry. All in favor? Aye, opposed? Policy 6220, bid or request for proposal requirements, first read.
Okay, this is an update in the federal threshold for bid requirements. Also, like other policies that we've been updating, has caught a series of previous updates made by WASDA that weren't on the books for the district. This has been reviewed by the district's finance office and is presented as recommended for approval.
Michael, questions?
I had actually asked a question about this one, but in I don't know, section D for exemptions, it basically lays out that if a local club wants to volunteer time and collect non-paid volunteers to do work for that costs less than $75,000, that you actually don't even have to go to bid. I think that's pretty darn interesting. A lot of work could be done for $75,000.
So we all volunteer
Yeah.
free and get it done. Mike, questions, comments?
No questions.
Isaac?
No.
Bella, Olivia? Okay. Advisory vote?
Yes.
Can I get a motion for approve policy 6220, bid or request for proposal requirements, first read?
I've learned my lesson.
A motion. A motion for policy 6220, bid or request proposal requirements, first read.
That was perfect, thank you.
My computer crashed, I had to reboot.
Do I have a second?
I second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Approval of WASDA critical policies, first read.
Okay, so as we previously discussed, the district is going through a policy review of the entire policy manual with WASDA's assistance. They will present us critical policy updates. Critical policies are ones that they have found that are either not compliant with law, that need immediate addressing. This is the first half of that set. We had agreed in a previous meeting that we would present those as a set, and if anybody had a specific question, there's another set that you'll see next month that currently those department heads that oversee that policy are just reviewing them to make sure that we're not asking you to adopt something not consistent with how we're practicing. So we're giving them a little bit more time for those because we just got these. These are ones that are ready to go and we're asking the board to approve.
Michael, questions?
No.
Mike,
No questions.
Isaac?
No.
Denise? All right, advisory vote.
Yes.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to approve WASDA critical policies, first read?
Motion to approve WASDA critical policies.
Second?
Second.
You got that one. All
Well, I
in
got the
favor?
flag.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? All right, approval of board operating procedures. We just went over these. Everybody read them, we went through them, so I'm assuming there's no questions? Michael, Mike?
No questions.
All right. Ladies, you did not get to, did you see them on there? Do you have any questions? Do you have an advisory vote for us?
Yes.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to approve board operating procedures for 2026?
I motion to approval of board operating procedures.
Good thing this is the last thing, I think.
Yes.
Do I have a
Rob.
second?
I second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Was that the last one? It was. We have no executive session, which is good because we all can't talk now.
Nope.
All right. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Do I have a second?
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We're adjourned.
Hey, Mitch.